So yeah, what you been up to though? Oh, nice. Yo, I see you got that. You got that Prime sub. Nice, bro. Do you what's it called? Do you do you still play Clash, right? We got the giveaway in a half an hour. You got the entry though. So you'll definitely be entered at least. And I'll actually give you another one because everyone gets an entry for the for just being at the stream. So bro, well if you win either way, I can give you $12 cash or $12 in any other game that I can gift it. But yeah. Yo, I've never been skiing, let alone I've never even seen snow before. So all right. Yeah, if you win, I mean, if you win, you can give it to somebody as well, or just pay it forward. Why there's no? Oh, there is page numbers. Okay, nice. Going to 69 here. There we go. Yeah, right now I'm just doing a reading session right now. Yo, where do you ski at? Is it like in a natural place? Like I don't know, like you know what I mean? Is it like a natural place or like an artificial place? No, bro. This book is actually. Do you know who C.S. Lewis is? Bro, C.S. Lewis is peak. Oh, you weren't saying skiing? What were you talking about then? You're talking about school? What is SKL? Oh, okay. I'm actually so smart. I don't know why. I thought that said ski. What time did your school end? Right now it's 1:48 for me. Yeah, yeah. Oh shoot. Dang. You're just starting wow, you're just starting your school day and I'm just ending mine. It's almost 2 p.m. for me. Dang. Holy. So by the time you're done with school, it's like I'm going to bed. Dang. Holy. Alrighty, so I'm actually gonna start reading this, bro. So if you want to listen along, you can mute the stream if you want. Do whatever you want. But this book's pretty peak. It's basically C.S. Lewis's perspective on Christianity and like just that's basically like if I just sum the book up. I don't know if you're religious or not, but alrighty. I had to do this for school either way, so yeah. You play Siege? Well, we can run the Siege one time. Okay. The 3 parts of morality. There's a story about a schoolboy who was asked what he thought God was like. He replied that as far as he could make it out, God was the sort of person who was always snooping around to see if anyone is enjoying himself and then trying to stop it. And I'm afraid that is the sort of idea that the word morality raises in a good many people's minds. Something that interferes, something that stops you have a good time. In reality, moral rules are directions for running the human machine. Every moral rule is there to prevent a breakdown or to strain or friction in the running of that machine. That is why these rules at first seem to be consistently interfering with our natural inclinations. When you're being taught how to use any machine, the instructor keeps on saying, "No, don't do it like that," because of course, there are all sorts of things that look all right and seem to you the natural way of treating the machine, but do not really work. Some people prefer to talk about moral ideas rather than moral rules and about moral idealism rather than moral obedience. Now it is, of course, quite true that moral perfection is an ideal in the sense that we cannot achieve it. In that sense, every kind of perfection is, for us humans, an ideal we cannot. Succeed in being perfect car drivers or perfect tennis players or in drawing perfect straight lines. But there is another sense in which it is very misleading to call moral perfection an ideal. When a man says that a certain woman or house or ship or garden is his ideal, he does not mean, unless he is rather a fool, that everyone else ought to have the same ideal. In such matters we're entitled to have different tastes and therefore different ideals. But it is dangerous to describe a man who tries hard to keep the moral law as a man of high ideals, because this might lead you to think that moral perfection was a private taste of his own, and that the rest of us were not called on to share it. This would be a disastrous mistake. Perfect behavior may be unattainable as perfect gear changing when we drive, but it is a necessary ideal prescribed for all men by the very nature of the human machine, just as perfect gear changing is an ideal prescribed for all drivers by the very nature of cars. And it would be even more dangerous to think of oneself as a person of high ideals, because one is trying to tell no lies at all, instead of only a few lies, or never to commit adultery, instead of committing it only seldom, or to not be a bully, instead of being only a moderate bully. It might lead you to become a prig and to think you are rather a special person who deserve to be congratulated on the idealism. In reality, you might just as well accept to be congratulated because whenever you do a sum, you try to get it quite right. To be sure, perfect arithmetic is an ideal. You will certainly make some mistakes in some calculations, but there is nothing very fine about trying to be quite accurate at each step in each sum. It would be idiotic not to try. For every mistake is going to cause you trouble later on. In the same way, every moral failure is going to cause trouble, probably to others and certainly to yourself. By talking about rules and obedience instead of ideals and idealism, we hope to remind ourselves of these facts. Now let us go a step further. There are two ways in which the human machine goes wrong. One is when a human divided individuals drift apart from one another, or else collide with one another to do one another damage by cheating or bullying. The other is when things go wrong inside the individual, when different parts of him, his different faculties and desires, and so on, either drift apart or interfere with one another. You can get the idea plain if you think of us as a fleet of ships sailing in formation. Actually, that's kind of funny. The voyage will be a success only in the first place if the ships do not collide and get in one another's way, and secondly, if each ship is seaworthy and has her engines in good order. As a matter of fact, you cannot have either of these two things without the other. If the ship keeps on having collisions, they will not remain seaworthy very long. On the other hand, if their steering gears are out of order, they will not be able to avoid collisions. Or if you like, think of a humanity as a band playing a tune. To get a good result, you need two things. Each player's individual instrument must be in tune, and also each must come in the right moment as to combine with all the others. But there is one thing we have not taken into account. We have not asked where the fleet is trying to get to, or what piece of music the band is trying to play. The instruments might be all in tune and might all come in the right moments. But even so, the performance would be not a success if they had been engaged to provide dance music and actually played nothing but dead marches. And however well the fleet sailed, its voyage would be a failure if it were meant to reach New York and actually arrive at Calcutta. Morality, then, seems to be concerned with three things. Firstly, with fair play and harmony between individuals. Secondly, with what might be called tidying up or harmoniously the things inside each individual. Thirdly, with the general purpose of human life as a whole. What man was made for, what course the whole fleet ought to be on, what tune the conductor of the band wants it to play. You may have noticed that modern people are nearly always thinking about the first thing and forgetting the other two. When people say in the newspaper that we are striving for Christian moral standards, they usually mean that we are striving for kindness and fair play between nations and classes and individuals. That is, they are thinking only first thing. When a man says about something he wants to do, it can't be wrong because it doesn't do anyone else any harm. Yo, what are we redeeming? Oh my gosh. I actually need to stretch. Why are you interrupting me? Bruh. Why is it only 100 points? Holy. CB Peppa Pig. I lost where I was. Oh my gosh. Alright, bro. Let's see, bro. Yo, don't waste your points, bro. Yo, you too. Thanks for stopping by. Yo, he had the timer going. I'm almost done reading this book, this chapter, and once I'm done, we can start. I'm gonna start a new stream so people can get, so someone else can get another first, because it'll be a different stream. I'm almost done with this. Where was that? He's thinking only of the first thing. Yeah, we're doing it after these next few pages. I'm starting it. Yes, sir. This is gonna be like, it'll be 5 minutes. Alrighty. He's thinking not to matter what the ship is. It is inside, provided that he does not run into the next ship. And it is quite natural that we were thinking about morality to begin with this first thing. With social relaxations, for one thing, the result of bad morality is that sphere is so obvious and press almost every day. War and poverty and graft and lies and shoddy work. And also, as long as you stick to the first thing, there is very little disagreement about morality. Almost all people at all times have agreed in theory that human beings ought to be honest and kind. And helpful to one another. But though it is natural to begin with all that, if our thinking about morality stops there, we might as well just not have at all. Unless we go on to the second thing, the tidying up each human being. We're only deceiving ourselves. What is the good of telling the ships how to steer so as to avoid collisions, if in fact that they are such crazy old tubs that they cannot be steered at all? What is the good of drawing up on paper rules for social behavior, if we know that in fact our greed, cowardice, ill temper, and self-conscience are going to prevent us from keeping them? I do not mean for a moment that we ought not to think, and think hard, about improvements in our social and economic system. What I do mean is that all of that thinking will be mere moonshine unless we realize that nothing but the courage and unselfishness of individuals is ever going to make any system work properly. It is easy enough to remove the particular kind of graft or bullying that goes on under the present system, But as long as men are twisters or bullies, they'll find some new way of carrying on the old game under the new system. You cannot make men good by law, and without good men, you cannot have a good society. That is why we must go on to think of the second thing of morality instead of the individual. But I do not think we can stop there either. We are now getting to the point at which different beliefs about the universe led to different behaviors, and it would seem, at first sight, very sensible to stop before we got here, and just carrying on with those parts of morality that all sensible people agree. About. But can we? Remember that religion involves a series of statements about facts, which must be either true or false. If they are true, one set of conclusions will follow about the right sailing of the human fleet. If they are false, quite a different set. For example, let us go back to the man who says that a thing cannot be wrong unless it hurts some other human being. He quite understands that he must not damage... Yo, I'm almost done. This is the second to last page, and then we can do the giveaway. Just chill out, chill out, chill out. Understands not damage other ships into the convoy, but he honestly thinks that what he does to his own ship is simply his own business. Yo, what is up, CR? Bro, the giveaway is so close. Literally, like, last page, and we're starting the giveaway. We're first going to do a tournament, and then after the tournament, it's going to be the actual giveaway, so... But does it not make a great difference whether his ship is his own property or not? Also, if you guys, anybody in here right now, if you want to give up your opinion on what type of tournament we should do, if we should do a classic one, should we do a draft? Should we do a ramp up? You know what I mean? Like, put what you think we should do. Mega draft, triple draft. But does not make a great difference whether I am, so to speak, the landlord of my own mind and body, or only a tenant responsible to the real landlord. If somebody else made me for his own purpose, then I shall have a lot of duties which I should have not if I simply belong to myself. Again, Christianity asserts that every individual human being is going to live forever, and this must be either true or false. Now, there are a good many things which would not be worth bothering about, but if I were going to live only 70 years, but which I had better bothered about very seriously if I am going to live forever. Perhaps my bad temper or my jealousy are gradually getting worse, so gradually that the increase in 70 years will not be very noticeable. But it might be absolute hell in a million years. In fact, if Christianity is true, hell is the precisely correct technical term for what it would be. And immorality makes this other difference, which, by the by, has a connection with the difference between total atheism and democracy. If individuals live only 70 years, then a state or a nation or a civilization, which may last for 1,000 years, is more important than an individual. But if Christianity is true, then the individual is not only more important, but incomparably more important, for he is everlasting, and the life state of civilization compared with his is only a moment. It seems then that if we are to think about morality, we must think of all these departments: relations between man and man, things inside each man, and relations between man and the power that made him. We can all cooperate in the first one. Disagreements began with the second and became more serious with the third. It is dealing with the third that the main difference between Christian and non-Christian morality come out. For the rest of the book, I am going to assume the Christian point of view and look at the whole picture as it will be. Christianity is true. Alrighty, that is chapter 1 of book 3, and that concludes it. We'll move on to chapter 2 at another point. So, thanks for watching. Okay, so I'm gonna end the stream, and I am going to restart it. So first one to come can claim the entry, and then everyone from now on is gonna get an entry as well. So yeah, see you guys in a few minutes.